Is there any other one?
Yeah.
Your man is this our man?
No, this is a young man.
I know who that guy is. Hey, where are you?
Yes, sir.
It's a nice young gentleman from the Democrat Party.
Okay, well, look good. They can all sit together.
Nick, go ahead and get started.
You want me to go ahead and start that? We can catch up and later. All right. Okay. Thanks very much for doing this. What I was hoping, oh, by the way, can we start by having everybody introduce themselves very quickly, just so everybody, y'all know who I am. Jenny?
Jenny Arnold from the Lancaster News.
Okay. Rudy Carter, Lancaster.
Maxie Hammond, former member of Lancaster County Council.
Jim Morton, I'm already in Hill.
I'm Richard McCray. I'm chairman of the York County Democratic Party.
Gil Small, chairman of the Lancaster County Democrat Party.
My name is Ben. Work for the Democratic Party.
James Lambert's CN2.
Parker Gillespie, conservative activist.
John Walker, CN2.
I'm Steve Guilfoyle, freelance writer, working for Fort Times.
Okay.
I'm Matt Garfield from the Herald in Nashville.
And y'all know lawyer Will Tyndall, whose office was nice enough to let us use this today. Eric Bettyfield, my campaign manager, and Brian Partridge is our communications director. The two folks that are not here that we expected to be here, that may walk in the middle here, are Jenny Overman from the Fort Mill Times and somebody from the Associated Press. Jeffrey, yeah, he's filling in for a guy that I know is sick. Thank y'all for doing this, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to sit down and do this again. We have been through this once before during the last Senate campaign, when various innuendos and half-truths were brought up as part of my campaign for the South Carolina Senate. The Lancaster News at that time did what I thought was the investigative report that would sort of put this to bed, but evidently it's coming back up again in this campaign. So what I thought I would do is simply collect all the facts and give them out to you folks. Walk through the timeline, walk through exactly what happened with the documentation to back it up at Edenmoor, and then let y'all ask questions in hopes that we actually get the facts out to people as opposed to letting what's happen now, which is that, in my opinion, with all due respect to my Democrat colleagues who are here, is Mr. Spratt would rather talk about anything than his record. So what he's talking about is some supposedly wrongful real estate transaction I was involved with. Has everybody got this? Everybody got this schedule? Let's walk through exactly what happened. The first piece of property was acquired. By the way, we have documentation to back all this up. We've made copies for everybody, so at the end, if you want them, they'll be here for you to take. We have all the deeds that are referenced, all the county council minutes, the PDD ordinances, everything you could possibly imagine, as we try and lay out exactly
Nick, what we have here in paper format is
Yep.
about 6 or 7 copies of the deeds,
Okay.
where the permits were issued. The ordinances are available online, but we reference them in the timeline.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. The ordinance here, the number. You got a glass of water for yours?
Oh, wait.
We'll start in when it all started, which is back in 1999, which is when one of the companies that I worked for bought the first piece of property. Why is this important? Well, you know, one of the things that you've heard is that the company that I work for flipped this piece of property. In my business, in the real estate business, to most people that entails some type of ownership for a very brief period of time. It implies that either you sold a piece of property that you had under contract but you hadn't actually purchased, or a piece of property that you might have owned for a minute or a day. Oftentimes a flip involves a closing in one room and then another closing in another room. This first piece of property was purchased in 1999. You can see that it was various parcels that were put together. Again, a flip very often entails one piece of property moving very rapidly, and that is not what happened here. We bought these pieces of property over, as you can see, about 5.5 years. The first zoning took place In July of 2002, that was PDD 8, Ordinance 504, which was at the request of the Mulvaney Properties Lancaster, which is a subsidiary, or was at that time, of the Mulvaney Group Limited. That is my family's business, owned primarily by members of my family and members of another family. I own 3.33% of the Mulvaney Group Limited, which was the parent company that owned all of these subsidiary names that you'll see come up here. That rezoning took place as the result of 3 public hearings, one in June 3rd, one in June 17th, one on July 28th, as you can see in number 12. The zoning, which is here in Ordinance 504, laid out various land uses. And the land uses included 2,300 homes, apartments, hotel, business park, et cetera, town center, commercial, open space. And I believe at that time, I haven't been through it, I thought it was a fire station. At least there was some discussions about fire station. By the way, what happened there is that we knew what the northern end of the county needed. At that time, the northern end of the county needed 3 things primarily: a library, an EMS station, and a fire station. And what you'll see is sort of a fluid situation as to what sort of public improvement was going to be made as part of what was originally called St. Catherine. The ordinance 623 authorized the creation of the St. Catherine Improvement District, authorizing $30 million in bonds, first reading, second reading, wrapping up with a third reading on October 4th, 2004. Where I am in the timeline. Let's talk a little bit about how this project, part of this development, was financed. These were special assessment district bonds. Special assessment district is a creation under South Carolina law where a special tax district is created, and all of the property owners within that tax district voluntarily pay a higher level of tax. That higher level of tax is then used to finance bonds for public infrastructure improvement. For those of you who are familiar with Sun City, it is the exact same financing tool that was used to build much of the public infrastructure at Sun City, including the library. In fact, if you talk to the folks up there who live in Sun City, they're very familiar with that type of financing. There's a disclosure they get at closing, there's an amount of money they pay, etc. And we got that approved on October of 2004. There have been some allegations that I said this would be something for nothing, and I said exactly that. That is what special assessment districts are designed to be. Lancaster County, for example, received the library at Sun City for nothing. Part of the beauty of a special assessment district is that the money is allowed to be used for public infrastructure improvements and can be used to build libraries, fire stations, EMS stations, police stations. It's one of the ways in South Carolina that we make growth pay for itself. And that was the plan here when we first had the bond district created. Why was the county involved with it? The county's involved with it because under state law, only the county can create the district that will pay that extra level of tax. And then afterwards, the county will also administer the collection of that tax along with the regular property taxes that owners pay. Folks who live in Sun City, for example, pay not only the same taxes that I pay in Indian Land, but they also pay a special assessment that goes to pay off the bonds that we use to help develop Sun City. These bonds are not public. These bonds are not covered by the full faith and credit of Lancaster County. These are private bonds that are paid for solely out of the proceeds from the assessments. And if the assessments ever go into default, as I understand they have at Edenmoor, now called Edenmoor, the sole recourse of the bondholders is against the folks who have not paid their taxes. The full faith and credit of Lancaster County never was, nor is it, backing up these bonds. And you can check that against both your special assessment district law. I talked with the county attorney this morning, Mike I, at the McNair Law Firm. I think county council has probably spent more time than cares to think about what special assessment district bonds are. I think they're also in use in Lancaster County out at the golf course at Edgewater, and were used there to build, amongst other things, a part of the water system improvement, the tower, and other improvements out there. Again, the existing taxpayers, the regular citizens of Lancaster County are not responsible for the repayment of those bonds. Only the owners of property within that tax district are responsible. At the time the district was created, there was one owner, which was the company for which I worked. All right. Those bonds, the $30 million bonds that Lancaster County Council approved, again, the private bonds, never sold. Never sold. They were never issued, they were never funded, and none of those $30 million bonds that were approved were ever sold. Because we sold the property. We sold the property in May of 2005 to an entity called Lawson's Bend LLC. Lawson's Bend LLC, as I understand it, was a combination of GS Carolina LLC, a company that still exists, and I believe LM Sandler, I might get the initials wrong, LM Sandler and Sons. LM Sandler and Sons at the time was the money behind this operation. They were, and as far as I know, may still be, one of the largest residential developers on the East Coast. At the time they bought this piece of property from us, they controlled over 100,000 single-family lots. They had just previous to this acquired the largest piece of property in Statesville, North Carolina history, 1,000 acres consisting of two interchanges on Interstate 77. Along in their arrangement they had with GS Carolina. GS Carolina was primarily, my contact was a gentleman named Tom Scott. He's the S in the GS Carolina. Tom was a long-time Charlotte area developer who had a great deal of experience. I believe he worked for the John Crosland Company for many, many years. Everything that I'm getting ready to tell you now happened after we didn't own the property. Okay? You hear a lot of allegations about how the bonds that I got approved and the subdivision that I got approved and the promises that I made. It appears not only in the ads that Mr. Spratt is running, but in a letter that a disgruntled ex-county councilman, Stanley Smith, wrote several years ago, which I imagine is the basis for a lot of what we're talking about today. One of the first things that GS, the Lawson's Bend LLC did was go before county council and get Ordinance 713 passed. Ordinance 713 specifically repealed Ordinance 623. Ordinance 623 is the ordinance, if you guys got your spreadsheets in front of you, Section 13 is where the zoning ordinance, which set forth the land use that I had approved for my company in October of 2004, was repealed. I'll say that again. The zoning that I had worked to get on this piece of property was repealed at the request of the new company, the new owner, and at the approval of county council in January of 2006. That does not happen in secret, gentlemen. None of this happened in secret. In fact, by the time the story is told, the new owner will have gone before county council no fewer than 17 times at public meetings. And that doesn't count the number of times they showed up just for informational purpose. There were no fewer than 17 public meetings before county council announced to the press, attended by the public, by the new owner regarding the recrafting of St. Catherine into Edenmoor. So Ordinance 713 is passed in January of 2006. You see that a new development agreement was agreed to in April. Fourth month is April. April 2006. That was the development agreement at the same time. A new set of bonds was approved. I'm at number 17 right now. The $30 million bonds that were approved by county council while the Mulvaney Group Limited owned this piece of property were thrown away.